Hi, everybody. How you doing? Hey, Javi, Thomas, Javier. What's up? Let's see. Junior. Hi, Junior. Joseph. Good day. Let's start a pool to see what time Bill comes on. You'll take 4:05. We lost. I was right here at 4. I wasn't watching YouTubes with the alligator who ate the village or anything like that. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Bruce, Mr. Shinobi, hi, how you doing? Andres, oh, good to see everybody. Let's sort of trying to continue what we were talking about this morning. Hi, Roar. Hey, you're here on time, Roar. Oh, great. Ooh, that reminds me. Jeez. Thanks, Mark. I was listening to one of my older live videos, and it sounded really good. And it was when I used to use my microphones. And so I thought, well, I'll hook it up. Maybe it was something else. I think one of the things, especially during the summer, all summer long, I had on my fan up above as sort of a ceiling fan. And that may have had some funny sound. Hi, old bud. How you doing? So it's good to see you. All right. Well, what I was sort of looking at earlier was examining my regulator. And I was thinking is that, here are the different kinds of dials that we can get as part of the Gismos and way of doing things. And the regulator is not used as a typical watch simply because it doesn't fit into the tradition. We have either center seconds or small seconds, 6 or 3 or 9. And but then I thought about it. Well, why is that? I mean, they could have been somewhere else. Anyway, hey, Watch Habit. Hi, Clyde. How you doing? Geezer. And so I was thinking about that. I think, well, okay, so if we just start and say, all right, we have a watch, and what we really need, we just need to know the hour and the minute. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I rarely use a second hand. I know some people do. I don't. I mean, the biggest use of the second hand to make sure the watch is running. If I look at my second hand and it stopped, that means the watch isn't running or needs winding or needs something about it done. And so I thought, well, let's start with those basics and see how far, which way we would move. Now, the same is true for the insides. On the inside of the watch, you have the basics. You have the barrel with the mainspring, and then that releases power through the gear train, and that goes down to the escapement, and the escapement lets that power released coming from the mainspring, and this turns the gears and so forth. Okay, so we need those basic things. We need the balance. We need the hairspring for the balance. We need the gears in the gear train that run the hour hand and the minute hand. Now, just to try to move things along, let's say we do need the second hand, and I suppose some people use it. And so, what would be the next thing? You say, look, okay, I got the hour hand, I got the second hand, I got a watch. Essentially, here is a basic watch. It's got hours, minutes, and seconds. So, what would be the next thing that you'd be adding to it? what would be saying, well, let's see, this would be a nice thing to add. And so there are different ways to add it. On the one hand, you can add it by getting another watch with that particular feature on it, or you can find a watch that has more features. Date, okay. I don't have one within grabbing reach. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. Here's one with a date. It's got a little date window over at 3 o'clock that you probably can't see. There it is. So it's got a date window. Do I use the date window? Oddly enough, I don't use it because I'm not that good at making sure it's the right date. But it's usually pretty small too. So I figured I got a calendar over here. I just look at my calendar and but I think a date's a good idea. So that would be the next thing we add. Yeah, Mark, I'm not going to add anything. I like the simple watches too, but in terms of the kinds of things, some people like to add things. A power reserve indicator. That's something else that I really like because I see that as practical. Does a watch need winding? Yes or no? Now, there's two places. There's either on a dial or on the back. And H. Moser, and there are probably some other ones too. H. Moser is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. They put it in the back. Why do they put it in the back? Well, then you don't have to design it into the dial. You can have a very smooth, clean dial, and then for that you can put it in the back. Hey, Augusto del Rejo, saludos back to you. Adding a retrograde. Okay, now let's talk about that in terms of a retrograde is simply another way of displaying time. If we have I've got lots of retrogrades and I'm going to have to get them out of the case. But what does a retrograde actually do? Well, actually, one of the things that it does, it can release save space. On the retrograde, this thing is messed up. I got to print out another copy of it. But here is a retrograde for an hour right here. And it doesn't take up as much room. So there's other things you can do with this space, either leave it blank or do something else with it. Another thing related to that is the jumping hour. And so you can see here, this one takes up less space and it has the same information that something like this has. We're used to looking at it this way. And so that's how we look at it. But we could just be, just as likely to look at it like we would look at a regulator. And the regulator was actually set up originally so that the watchmakers could check the different dials and sub-dials, that they had a big regulator on the wall and they would check their own work against the regulator. Hey, Greg, how you doing? On Saturday, I have to pick between watching you or my college football games. I don't know. It depends. If your college isn't doing so well, we're here for you. If they're doing well. Hey, Hans, how you doing? Retrograde adds a little flavor to the watch. That's true. Do you know how a retrograde works? Have you guys ever seen the mechanism for a retrograde? How do they get it to, it goes up and then back? Retrograde dates, retrograde. About the only retrograde that you can regularly see is a retrograde on a power reserve indicator. When you wind the watch, you can see the old power reserve dial sort of rewind back to 0, or if you have FP Journe, yeah, on FP Journes it winds, it goes back to 0 as you add power, and then it goes the other way around. Most of them are the opposite. If you have like 80 hours or 70 hours, the top number will be 70 and the bottom one will be 0. It's the opposite on FP Journes because they use the old the way they used to on sailing ships when they had to wind them up. But on a see if I got something here handy. On a the cool thing about, let me see, get a piece of paper here. How many of you know what a snail cam looks like? Thanks, Joseph. Hi, Hugh. How you doing? Okay, let me see. Here's a bad drawing of a snail cam, okay? And what happens is that the tail of the retrograde hand sort of follows this, and then to pop it back, it goes down here and then starts over again. That's at least that's how Jean-Marc Viderecht work, and it's a very simple, we'll call it complication. It's sort of a cool way to do it. Guys, what's going on here? Okay. All right. So we got we have a retrograde. Now the retrograde is simply a different style of showing time. So what would be another thing that we could add to it or not? Let me give you an example. Well, I'll let you do it. What are some other things that you think would be important to have in a watch, in a mechanical watch? Jump hands. Oh, like deadbeat hands. That like that. Chronograph. Why a chronograph, Mr. Shinobi? Do you use your chronograph functions? The reason I'm asking this, I have this is my chronograph, and I got it because it was Daniel Roth, and I realized, well, I don't have a chronograph, so I'll get a chronograph with it. And I really don't have much use for it. Tim, a moon phase. What is the moon phase for? I think a moon phase is cool for decoration. Yeah, I like that too. I got my moon on my shirt. Hey, John. Yeah, GMT, our second time, I think that's a very practical and important one. A reset button for the second hands. Really? That's interesting, Joseph. The only watch that I have that has a reset button for the second hands is on my Resonance. And it's extremely nice to have because you have, essentially two watches within the same watch. And in order to sync them up, you just have a little puller on it and boom, they sync up. Hi, Casey. Hey, Greg. Simple loom. Yeah, loom is nice to have. I wonder though, I don't know how much I don't use loom that much, but I can see it in certain watches have excellent loom. Most of mine don't, and by that I mean they just sort of like, should we put a loom on it? Nah, that's like this one. We'll skip the loom, but I can see why it would be really important for other things. Zero reset is nice to have. Yeah. Well, now zero reset though, I see that more for a chronograph. Don't all chronographs have a zero reset? Casey, wandering hour. I love wandering hours, and I don't have one, and I'd like to get one, just because I think they're very cool. It's sort of an interesting way of thinking about time. James Con 11, quick chains. Ooh, yes, that's a great one. Because we usually don't think of the straps as an important part, but the quick chains. Now, these are what I call long chain straps. You have to unscrew them and all of this other stuff. They're wonderful straps and they're nice to have. 3 lugs, like I got 3 lugs and you only have 2. Uh, Believe me, if you want to switch them, FP Journe, all of their straps have that little button you just pull and you can change straps. I think those are great. I mean, it's like having multiple watches. Have you ever screwed up a complication on any of your watches by changing date time? Yeah, Hans, I have. I've had to fix it. It's mainly with my moon phase that I mess it up. Finally, I read a thing that says, now set it to 6:30 if you're going to do that, just to be safe. And ever since I started doing that, it's been fine. But yeah, you can really mess that up. Hi, Andrew. For me, Loom doesn't really go with a true dress watch or even smart office watch, but it is a useful on a tool military watch. Yeah, Andrew, I think I feel the same way. I don't know. Hang on a second. Let me see. Yeah, this watch has good loom. This is my Easy Diver, and if I can hold it down here and it lights up. But usually in the evening time, like I suppose it would be a time if you have to get up in the middle of the night and stuff and sneak off to the bathroom or something, and you don't want to wake up your wife. Yeah, I could see that for that. I love the quick change on the Santos and sizing gizmo too. Hey, what is it? Forest. Is that for forest? For foo rest? How Patek Aquanaut doesn't have hacking secondhand option at this price point. It's really funny. It seems like all my German watches have hacking seconds. This one has hacking to it, and hacking makes me nervous. But for split-second timing, probably if it's something really important, yeah. Sometimes I'm late to these. I ought to get it, but I sort of like it, and I'm not too sure about it. The reason I'm not too sure about it, a lot of watchmakers and engineers and so forth say, well, it's not the best thing for a watch to have hacking. And when I see on this one, when I pull it out, the old hammer comes down. It looks like the brake on a wagon wheel. When you pull the brake, they clamp down on it. I don't know if you ever see a stagecoach in an old movie or even a new movie. They have and that's what it does to the balance wheel, and that, like I said, that can make me nervous. I think there are other ways to do it that aren't quite as traumatic. But the head of Patek Philippe was told at one time, his engineers or watchmakers said, it really isn't the best thing for the watch. And so that's why most Patek Philippe watches don't have hacking. And it's not a matter of price. It's a matter of, whether you want to have it or not. Give us another quick peek at your watch again. Greg. Okay. There's the quick, let's see if I can put it in a way so you can see it. The problem, there we go. Okay. By the way, are you still using blue tack gum for take backs off watches? To take backs off? No, I'm using, I got a ball. I got a sticky ball and just take it off with that. Those I like a lot better. I was using the putty for a while when I didn't have anything else, or I'd use one of those. I don't know what they're called, with those 2 teeth, and you put them in the slots and you turn those. Hans, watches absolutely can have hacking. Okay. Hughes, listen, you're not arguing with me about it. Just some watchmakers and some engineers said that it wasn't good, and I don't know. It can be done well unless accountants want to keep squeezing blood out of old rocks. Okay. Yeah, I do, Hans. I do remember that. That's probably one of the reasons I got it. A lot of the stuff is that people act as though that, to me, that's the whole purpose of having these discussions, um, is so that we can learn stuff from each other. Hacking causes no damage to modern movement. Paddock now has hacking in their new movements. Also, they have a new CEO. Let's see. FP Jorn does not agree. Yeah, FP Jorn doesn't have hacking either. Two of my favorite watchmakers, FP Jorn and Marco Lang, are different about it. On my Lang, and also on the Rolf Lang that I still have. It does have hacking, but on neither of my two FP Jorns says hacking. A crown that doesn't need a separate tool to actually wind the thing is a plus. There are some watches I love, but winding them is a real chore. Something. Now, here's an interesting point. Roger Daniels. It's Roger Smith, and it's George Daniels. George Daniels really liked the hand wound ones. He said that the thing, by having to put in the keyless works, and if you've ever had a keyless works fall apart on you, and I have, probably my own fault in my pretentious watchmaking, it's a pain in the neck, and you have a lot of stuff you have to put in a way in order to have a keyless system with a crown. And it's much better to have a watch, at least as far as a watchmaker's art is concerned, by having a key. You take off, and there's just this little hole there, and you wind it up the barrel, and Bob's your uncle. With the keyless works, you got all of that stuff in there to wind it and set it and so forth. So that's sort of in George Daniels was very almost snippy about it. Like, well, these jerks they can't figure out how not to lose their geese, so we'll have to put a crown and a stem in for them. So it's sort of an interesting little thing I ran across in his watchmaking book. Joe Biden will ban all hacking. I mean, my God, what would you guys do without your earthquakes, Clyde? VC 56, yeah. But that's Vacheron Constantin. And the 56, now which 56, Tim, has a hacking? Is it the one with the Val Fleurier movement, or the ones with the pure Vacheron Constantin movements? Moving a bezel too quickly changed the hour hand. How do you, Mark, how do you move the bezel? You mean if you move the bezel around like this and you do it too quickly, but this doesn't change the hour hand. This just sort of puts the bezel over. Is that what you meant, Mark? Okay. So that means you're all of the what are they called, the 4Ls and which is make all kinds of them. Those are they all have hacking. I'm not going to argue for or against hacking. I can take it or leave it, so it doesn't bother me really that much. But I can see why people would be nervous about it. And if you look at how your watch is hacked. And by that, I mean, if you take your watch off and you look at the back of it, okay? And here's the old balance, and then wham, you watch that clamp come down. You know, So anyway, Seiko's they're pretty tough watches, and they're good tool watches, and I think Rolexes all have hacking also. But Bruce says, well, the new Pateks don't have it anymore. Okay, or they do have it, as whereas before they didn't. BC56 Geneva Seal ones have hacking. Okay, which would mean those aren't the Val Fleurier ones. To be honest, it's very hard to pretend to be all about chronometry and not have hacking or zero reset. No, it's not, Hugh. Good grief, you guys. No. It's like something. I understand that. I mean, when you say that, I mean, if you have to, I don't know, to stop your watch somehow so that the second is straight up and down, and you want to coordinate your firing your artillery or something like that, then it becomes important. To me, it's, not that important. Now, maybe that's I should be more precise about it. But talking about horology as those being major factors, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree. And I don't think that if you don't have hacking, you can have a really great watch. And maybe if you do have hacking, at some point the hacking mechanism is going to knock something out of kilter on the rest of your operation of your watch. Same with zero reset. What do you think of that? It's such a cool function. Yeah, it's a cool function. Like I said, I have one watch with zero reset on the second hand. It would be nice to have, but I don't see that as the be all and end all of horology. That's interesting, Joseph. Yeah, maybe it. See, to me, the best watches have the big balances on them. Take a look at the ones that Kari Vuitton have. Giant, wonderful, very stable balances. I was looking at one the other day at a Octa. I think we talked about it this morning. And the thing about the Octa on a FP Journe Octa, I can't say the French without destroying it, but basically it's an Octa power reserve indicator. Now, on that watch, it has a smaller barrel because it's got the automatic, and it's got the big balance, the oscillation weight above the rest of the work. So you have the works down here, and then you have the oscillating weight up here. Now, that makes for a thicker watch, but what you have is you don't have to have a big barrel because you have the automatic winding going on. And so that allows for a bigger barrel. But the interesting thing about it is I think most of the Vuitton lanterns are hand wound. Okay, Hughes. Yeah, I see your point. Like I said, I do see the point of having that, of both a second reset and hacking. I understand that. But here is the other part of the equation, is that is it worth it to set any additional wear and tear on your movement? This is why I like a lower hertz. your lower hertz isn't going to, beat up your watch like a rented mule. So it's not that hacking is something that I, for precision. See, this is one of the problems, Hugh, and that I get into, at least with me. If I want precision, I got my iPhone here, and I can do anything with it, and click it into an atomic clock, have it set itself on that, and tell me who's going to win the World Series. It's a very different kind of thing now with a mechanical watch. I don't know. I understand the point, but I don't see it as a dramatic point. I'll put it that way. The hacking, the stop second mechanism. Are there some stop second mechanisms that you know of that do not put a clamp on the balance wheel? And I'm not talking about damaging it right away, but there's like I said, there's more wear and tear on a watch with a higher frequency. You get higher accuracy, or it's easier to get higher accuracy. This one is 2.5 hertz, and it's extremely accurate, and it does have hacking. You'll be glad to know. So I can set it very precisely, and but I don't. I set it, pull that thing out, and sort of take a look at my phone to see what the real time is, and then I set it and push it back in, and that's it. The time that it is pulled out, though, it does it engages the stop second mechanism. Like on the other hand, and Hugh, that is, you don't get the FP Journe we were going to send you. No hacking there. I don't know. Is that there's it's sort of like the spring drive, okay? The Grand Seiko spring drive is a brilliant mechanism for generating a currency for essentially a quartz movement. And that doesn't do anything for me. I mean, it's just not of interest as much as it is the way the whole mechanism going from the mainspring down to the regulator and through the hairspring and a balance wheel and all of that. But that's, that doesn't mean that people can't love, and they do. They absolutely love the spring drive because it's super accurate and everything else that a quartz movement can bring you. The brilliant part about it was how to generate enough power to run the electrical charge that's needed by the quartz movement. My favorite complication. Okay, let's talk about favorite complications. To me, it's the Remontoir Égalité. That's because that is the thing that provides accuracy for it. So that's mine. What's yours? What are some other favorite ones that you guys have? I mean, as a well, everybody's suddenly quiet. Okay, you like to have a second hand. Hi, Nefarian. Power reserve. Yeah. Hey, Paul. Yep, power reserve indicator. I don't think I have an automatic. Oh, see, FPGA Chronomet Optimum is my favorite collection of complication. Remontoir exotic non-lubricated escapement jumping seconds. Yeah, mine too. That's among the ones I can't afford. Hey, Andrew, I like sonic complications. Like, okay, is that you mean by sound? Ant, hey, Ant, you like the bracelet? I've got one watch with a bracelet, and it's got a wonderful bracelet. Hi, Paul. A second hand. You guys all love second hand. Okay. Bruce, what do you use the second hand for? Frying pan time. Okay. A repertoire complication, a movement enhancement. Maybe you could clearly explain the difference. A repertoire it's a type of stabilizing, Andrew. Okay. You like moon phases? I like no complication watch, very pure. I like a lot of those too. Precisely set my watch. Okay. you get that bluesy out there. You're gonna set it, boom. That's sort of interesting because they did need that in the worst way in Apollo 13. That's exactly what they needed. And I think that's one of the reasons that the Omega has a lot of. Now be nice, Hugh. Boozy shirt. Anyway, guys, listen, this was, I just wanted to talk about some other complications, but I am out of time, and so I got to run. Oh, by the way, too, some people I wanted to talk to real quickly. We started the thing with these little vest pocket collection reviews, and another way that I want to use it, if it's already had a review of your collection, and then you bought some extra watches since then, we could use the little vest pocket reviews for that too. So anyway, okay, so it's really so it improves the watch movement, but it's really I don't know what you guys are talking about. I gotta go. Take care and be safe and do something nice for yourself. I gotta watch. Take care.